Welcome back, Howligans, once again. My name is Joe. I am joined once again by my stunning and magical co-host, Ryan.
I'll take it.
We are here to review yet another movie. This is... I feel like maybe I shouldn't just go on Hulu and say, hey, this looks interesting. I know this actor. Let's watch that. Because the past couple times I've done that, this was interesting. I don't want to say off tops whether it was good or bad. I couldn't say what I expected out of it, but the movie that we watched was Killers Anonymous. I saw Gary Oldman.
Jessica Alba.
Yeah, Jessica Alba, who was in it for like 6 seconds, whatever. Like, okay, I mean, I guess she's a one of the bigger names in it, so they had to put her on the cover, on the... It's not the cover of the movie, like we're seeing it as, the digital cover on the Hulu thing. Like, I don't know what you would call that. Yeah. But it popped up. I'm like, oh, I like Gary Oldman. Let's check this out. Killers Anonymous. Had no idea what it was about, but what I didn't think it was going to be about was kind of what it ended up being about, and that's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, but for murderers. Really, I was like, oh, is that what this is? Okay, all right, that's interesting. But I didn't even read the synopsis on it. I just saw, oh, that looks interesting. Let's watch this and review it. And here we are. Ryan, you just watched this movie either last night or today. What did you think, sir?
I did watch it today, and I didn't know what to expect because, like you're saying, we just kind of looked at it. Gary Oldman's in it. Like, How could it be bad? How can you go wrong with Gary Oldman? I honestly don't think I've ever seen him in anything bad. Like, it could be goofy, Hitman's Bodyguard. It could be thought-provoking and kind of a slow burn, like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It could be anything. And it wound up being this weird, like, really well shot. The sound design was great. The way everything was shot was really well done. The camera angles were interesting. I'm sure a lot of the actors in it, I recognize some of them from other British movies, and it's probably why I don't recognize a lot of them. I'm sure there's a lot of huge names in it that are just not in movies that I typically see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Irish guy.
I first saw him in Braveheart. Was my first introduction to that actor, and I've liked him in anything I've seen him in. Otherwise, I've liked him. I like that actor. Also in, like we mentioned in the last review, I think that we had, or the Invincible review. He was also in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Was he?
Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the second one.
I've seen him in a couple things, and I like him, but I don't know his name. But I was like, oh, that guy. That guy's in this, and the guy that plays
this movie, he was named Marcus.
Yeah, that's right, Marcus. But anyway, it got my hopes up. Like, the music was really cool. The visuals were really cool. The meeting with Gary Oldman between him, and Jessica Alba, her character Jade,
yes.
He's like leading a group, a Killers Anonymous group in LA, and he has to fly all the way to London to meet with this person.
And she's explaining, was it a Killers Anonymous group?
Yeah,
I guess it was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be, because it comes back around at the end.
That's true, it does.
But yeah, he comes there, talks to her. She explains why this assassination attempt didn't go off the way it was supposed to. And I really didn't know what to expect because of the way he played that dictator in
Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is he going to be like this again? Is he going to be ruthless? Like, he's just looking at her and he's like, I'm waiting for the part where you're saying this isn't your fault.
Oh, that was such a great line.
And she just looks at him and they don't say anything to each other. And I was like, oh man, is she going to die? So from there, it had me really, really hoping that things were going to get really good. Because it reminded me a little bit of Clue. Because when they're in this this support group, they're talking about their past. They're telling these stories. They're very interestingly done. It's a very, I don't know. It seems like a British thing to me, the way they do some of it, because I've seen them do stuff like it in Sherlock and other BBC shows where they'll have, like, Gary Oldman's having a conversation with somebody over the phone and he's sitting on this rooftop watching something. And suddenly it shows them sitting next to each other. She's at her kitchen table, like eating a sandwich on the phone. He's sitting there next to her. They're not really there, but instead of doing a split screen, they do something a lot more creative than that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know if I'd ever seen that before, and I thought that was clever.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that before. Or like where the one guy's talking about killing the head of the triad or whatever. and it
That's
just shows this
Leo.
this blank white background with a couch that she's sitting on. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the only things you see are the stuff that actually matters to the story, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
And then it comes around to the point where you find out what's going on and there are a couple big reveals, but you
Mm-hmm.
come around to the first big reveal where the guy who was supposed to be assassinated, you see him again. Or really, you see him for the first time. You hear about him. You don't really see him before, but you see him, and I'm thinking like, okay, now shit's going to really go down. And I paused it to look and see how far I was into it, and there was like 17 minutes left, and most of it's credits. And I was like, oh, did they, like, is this an episode? And the way it just finishes, it's extremely unsatisfying. It's like they forgot part of the movie. It's like leaving a phone message for somebody, like, "Hey, this is Ryan, and I'm calling. You know, your name reminds me of whatever," and then you just hang up, and you're like, "Oh shit, I got sidetracked, and I forgot to tell them why I was calling and what my phone number is to call me back." You know what I mean? They're like, "Oh shit, we forgot the conclusion of the movie and like why any of this was happening in the first place." And I don't know how you feel because I have purposely not said anything about it to you since I watched it, and you just texted me yesterday like, "All right, I've watched it," and you didn't say anything else.
Yep.
So I assumed you wanted to wait to have this conversation. Like, when we watched Invincible, you texted me right away. You're like, "This is the shit." Like, but you didn't say anything about this one. So I was like, it's either real good or real bad. So yeah, I mean, this is the first movie, I'll go ahead and say it, that I'm going to say is a no, don't watch it. Not a watch. I don't know. I don't know. It's so well done, but I don't know what it is. It's not a complete story. And I don't know how you feel about it. So your turn.
um. Okay.
Hi,
So
I'm Joe, and I'm a killer.
uh, there were parts of this movie that I really enjoyed. Kind of like some of the stuff you said, the sound design or the way it was shot, some of the cinematography, the way they did things, just how it looked. Some of that was really neat. I really liked a lot of that. I liked the idea of a Killers Anonymous group. These people coming together to talk about these issues, how some of them are being very serious about it. Others are like, fuck you, whatever, and this bullshit. And I thought I liked the characters. I liked how you got into some of the characters, but I so agree with there. I felt like something was missing at the end of it. I'm like, that's it. That's how this is going to end. There was some of the reveals, the things that happened. Yeah, we're gonna get into talking spoilers, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit you with. I I'm shocked to say this about a Gary Oldman movie, but not a watch. I'm gonna concur with that. This is not a watch. It was interesting. Some of the things that were in it that I liked, but based on how it went, the decisions that they made for how they wanted to tell this story, I guess I didn't understand it the way I was supposed to. So I have to go with that. I will say the very beginning of this movie, and just from here on out, we're going to talk some spoilers. We're going to get into things about this movie, what we liked, what we didn't like. I
So turn
really
back now
liked,
if you're not into it. Yeah.
yeah, I really liked the very first scene in the movie. There's a phone call, and Gary Oldman walks over to this phone to answer it, and it's this mouth that's a phone with a tongue hanging out, and that's what he picks up and answers. That was great. I was like, oh, okay, that's okay. I like that. Maybe I'm going to like this.
See, I thought maybe it was going to be some kind of comedy, just because the idea of a Killers Anonymous sounds so funny on its own. It's like maybe this is going to be like if Dexter had some place to go to be like, you guys got to help me.
Talk about his feelings.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, that's kind of what I expected, something funny. And what it turned into was this, like, it was like Clue, like, who is it? Who's doing what? Who's climbing around in the vents? And waiting for these different people to catch on to stuff and getting like slight introductions to some of them, but you never really know too much about them.
Yeah. So you first meet up with, and Gary Oldman's character doesn't have a name. He's called the Man.
Mm-hmm.
You look it up on IMDb, it's the Man. That's all you get. So the Man goes and meets up with Jessica Alba's character, Jade. And that was a fun interaction. They're supposed to be a hit out on this U.S. senator who's running for president, I guess, and whatever powers that be do not want that to happen.
And he's in
And
London for some reason, which didn't make sense to me. That was something where I wasn't sure if I missed what was going on. Do you normally like try to attract voters from other countries that are like it's the only wrong way to campaign to like campaign to people who can't vote for you?
yeah, I didn't even consider that fact that he wasn't in America campaigning.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
just
I mean, I assume there was some reason for him to be over there, but they don't explain what that is. They talk
nope.
about him like he's campaigning, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense.
They do. They talk about him like he's campaigning for president, but they make no mention of why he is in not the United States of America. He might not have been campaigning. It might have been a whole different thing, but we don't know. They don't
Yeah,
tell us, which, whatever. You don't have to tell us everything. That's all right. But the interaction with those two was okay. I liked it. And Gary Oldman, just the parts he was in, he was great because he
yeah,
is great. That's what he
yep.
does. But he wasn't in this movie enough.
No, there were. Yeah, it was just periodic. Like him, most of the time. Just to estimate, I would say probably 35% of the time he's on screen, he's drinking from a nearly empty glass of wine and looking through binoculars.
Yeah.
That's about it. He's
While
observing what's going on.
While listening to what's happening in where the meeting where they are.
Yeah, so since we're going into spoilers, I mean, the characters aren't badly written. The dialogue's not badly written. It's just that there's a twist that doesn't make any sense, and they have two twists. The first twist is this, well, yeah, it's not a twist. The first twist is the senator showing up. Like he's there, he's upset because they were supposed to fake an assassination attempt to help him get in office, to like, to I guess get sympathy for him, which is funny because that's actually the plot of the 1993 Green Arrow series, The Wonder Year. There's a fake assassination attempt on a politician to boost his political career so he can run for president. Like I just read that
Nice.
comic a couple days ago, and it's like, oh, that's so weird that it's the
How
same
do you
thing.
bring everything back to Green Arrow?
Hey, it's a gift.
Like you are really, really good at that. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he shows up. He's like
Green Arrow.
Yeah, he's like they were supposed to miss. What was that? And he realizes right away, like he gets hit. They bring him inside. They're already saying on the news, "We've confirmed he's dead." He's like, something's wrong here. I'm going to get out of here. And then it shows his guards coming back with their guns out like they're going to kill him. So he runs there. He's like, what's going on? Everybody else is like, what's going on? And she, God, what was her name? Yeah, played by
Joanne.
Mianna Buring? Something like that. Mianna Buring.
Uh-huh.
I liked her. I liked her character a lot, actually.
Uh-huh.
She had a really, I don't know. I've had a senior manager who was kind of like that, had this kind of like quiet, calm demeanor that somehow just like commanded you to listen. And I don't know what that is, but she had that quality to her. I really enjoyed that character, but she reveals like, oh, you've actually all been working for me. Like learning about you through this group, is how I've learned to control all of you, how you're getting these contracts. Like you think you're getting them from somewhere else. And none of these killers who want to kill decide to kill. Like they're just cool with it. Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I guess that they're like, okay, let's figure out what's going on because maybe we've been doing this a long time. We all kind of trust and like each other. So we're just going to like figure out what this is. And she even says like, well, think about it. Who would be running this group? Like really?
The senator says that.
Yeah.
He's the one that brings that up. Well, who do you think's running this? And she's like, oh, thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the second twist is that the mystery person who's been there the whole time is the new boss, and either the CIA or the Killers Anonymous program has been taken over by the Russians, which doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that because the one guy's like, oh, she talks about using a Dragunov or whatever. And he's like, that's a Russian rifle. And she's like, yeah, we work for the highest bidder. We have new management and we're testing you all. And so they have all these like weird fake outs. They have the girl hiding in the ceiling who almost gets caught. Like for some reason, she's hiding from the person who runs the group. And then you find out later, the person who runs the group knew she was there the whole time and works for her. So why was she hiding from her? That doesn't make any sense. Why would she have not known she was in the ceiling? That doesn't make any sense. Then they have this whole thing where they go through, and I kind of like this scene. They go through this sequence of scenarios where they're like, who is this person? What are we going to do with her? Right? It's kind of like flashing between like, well, I'm going to shoot her. Who votes I shoot her? And then it's Marcus has her. He's like, no, I'm going to make her talk. And then Alice is standing in front of her. Alice being the mystery girl that we don't know anything about. Like suddenly she gets really gutsy and gets involved, right?
Yeah,
And
and
none of it makes any sense.
starts to choke her to death.
Yeah. Well, she
That's what
reveals
that's
that
what
she
you are led to believe.
yeah, she reveals that she had some childhood trauma and
Uh huh.
abuse and killed her father.
Yeah.
And through this whole thing, the younger girl who's hiding in the ceiling tries to run away. The lady who runs the group gets shot. You know, they bring everybody back in except the body of the person that they shot. And then she shows back up and she's like, surprise, that was a test too. Like everything's a test. Here's who passed. And what doesn't make sense to me is the people who passed the test. You saw my quotes. Not everybody saw my quotes. Hopefully they can hear them. The
Yeah.
test is like how quickly you can just flip your loyalties, which doesn't make any sense. It's like if I was a manager and went in anywhere, not just a group of killers or military people or, you know, restaurant workers, like anything, cart, like the people who got to cart corrals and bring those back in, I don't want them to just like flip their loyalty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, out of the 5 people we sent out to collect carts from the parking lot, you're the one who got distracted by the sign at the Jack in the Box across the street. You're the one we want. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, there were some decisions in this, and okay, since you already brought it up, the reveal that this Joe character who is running the group, she's the one who's like the therapist of the Killers Anonymous group that is trying to, all right, now it's your turn to talk. Okay, thank you very much. Now it's your turn. And okay, maybe we can calm down a bit. That when it's revealed that she's the CIA and that
Mhm.
it's just been a CIA way to control these killers and have them commit the assassinations that they want them to do, I really hated that. I
I didn't.
disliked it because it wasn't. I don't think there's anything clever with that. It's been done before. It's I've that's not. Oh, really? It's a government conspiracy. Oh, okay. Whereas I really thought it was going to be something much. Just the idea of the Killers Anonymous and that Gary Oldman is somehow running this whole thing. And, oh no, it's a CIA. Oh, okay, it's the CIA doing it. That didn't jive with me. I didn't like that at all.
I didn't have that much of a problem with it. It's the twists after it that bothered me.
I
Like
mean,
everybody
they
turning on
bothered
each
me too.
other in chaotic ways that didn't make any sense. You know, they're all just like fighting to the death at the end, basically.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Like who's shooting who and who's killing who doesn't make any sense. The fact that the girls who are running the whole thing, who turn out to be the bosses, like the Russians the whole time, were like maybe 30, the older one, but she can't really be because the one is a kid. She's like 14. And the girl that we're following, who I assumed was supposed to be in her like 20s or 30s, is revealed to be her older sister, and they show them as kids, and they're almost the same age as kids.
Yeah,
They're like a
they're
couple years apart, but
not
now all of
many
a
years
sudden,
apart.
yeah, and then they show them now, and they're like, I don't know. So either the main girl Alice is like 17 and just looks older. That doesn't make any sense. That casting doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like on some of these shows that you see on like CW or whatever, where they'll cast a high schooler who's like 35. It's probably
I
just weird casting, but
think they started that with 90210 started that.
it doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense, and that's why I don't like it, because they never reveal why any of it's happening. I think that what they're going for is a glimpse into this weird subculture or the set of people, and it's just like a look at a day. Like, hey, here's something weird that's going on. There's this Killers Anonymous thing, and well, look at that. Now the Russians took it over, or maybe they took over the whole CIA, or we don't know. Why'd they do it? We don't know. What was the CIA doing that the Russians didn't want them to do, or they wanted to do differently? Why didn't the Russians just start their own? Why did they want to take it over? Why didn't they just want to like infiltrate it secretly? Like, how can you just, like, with the CIA not notice that, like, hey, this whole division is just gone? I guess everything's fine, and I mean, this isn't a Metal Gear Solid game. They're not just gonna boop and then forget about you when they don't see anything anymore.
Yeah, I didn't. The Russian thing, I didn't understand that. I wasn't a big fan of Alice as a character. Maybe her, the actress, how she played it. I don't know. I didn't buy what they tried to sell me with her. The beginning half, yes, Like the beginning half of this movie, I thought this is a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really enjoyed the beginning half of this movie. I liked the interaction with Gary Oldman and Jessica Alba in the beginning. I didn't necessarily like the Jessica Alba scene immediately after that, where her and this girl who's in the Killers Anonymous group named Crystal, that they get into a fight. Now the credit part of that, how the credits were going as they were fighting, that was interesting. But the fight itself, I didn't buy it. The fight, the choreography, it wasn't done well. And so I didn't like that a whole lot. Like we've seen fights with two female actresses that had grit and impact and just really hit hard, like Kill Bill 2. I mean, those chicks were trying to kill each other. Like you felt that. It was rough. This, meh, it was just, it was what it was. But when you get into this meeting, I enjoyed hearing the stories by Ben, by Leo, by Calvin.
Ugh. Calvin was terrifying. That one
So
was
creepy.
scary because that one seemed real.
Yep, that's
Like-
so creepy.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that part of it. I enjoyed hearing these stories. My favorite out of all of them was Leo's story and him talking about this and his whole thing. I liked his the best out of all of it. But it goes from that, and you're interested in these characters, and Marcus comes in, and you've got Crystal, and she's threatening Alice from the very beginning, and Marcus is like, "Who's this bitch? Why is she? We've never seen her before," and she happens to show up on the day that there was this botched assassination, and it's this whole thing. And so the beginning part of that, I was really interested to see where is this going to go. I remember pausing the movie too, and it was just past halfway into it, and I still had no idea what was going on. I'm like, I don't know why we're here. There's so many. I know they're going to reveal stuff, and I know we're going to find out some information about why everything is happening. This girl in the rafters, like spying on them. We're going to find out what's going on with that. But the stuff you end up finding out just was such a letdown.
Yeah, because there's no why. They never reveal why any of it's happening. It was just, it's such a waste. Because whatever it is, it's really well made. It's just, they didn't finish it. They gave us it would be a great episode of something, but it's not a complete story on its own.
It isn't. Now, question, maybe you just watched it today. I feel like I couldn't just go back and watch it again. I didn't have time last night, and I just got done with work today, so I didn't have time to go back and rewatch it. But Gary Oldman is talking to this Violet character on the phone. We'd mentioned that already, the way that interaction happened, and she shows up next to him, even though she's not really there, how that shot was really neat. But he's talking to her. Who was she? She was inconsequential for did she come back and do anything that I missed? Was
No.
she there at the end? What was the point of him talking to her at all? Or was that just some side thing that he happened to have to deal with while he was watching these people? Because I didn't understand why she was there at all.
That's what I think it is. I think it's just that it's showing he's still running his own group. I think it's to reinforce that his group is the same thing as this one in London. They're doing the same stuff, dealing with the same kind of people, and that he's just still doing it. And why did they do it is a question you can ask about almost every single decision they made in this movie. They could have left so much of it alone, not revealed these different things. Revealing that they worked for the CIA could have been left out entirely. It could have been revealed all at once that this is a program by the CIA that has now been infiltrated and taken over by Russians. There was no reason to have the reveal that there's somebody there, the reveal that, there's a CIA influence, and then a reveal that there's a Russian influence. There's no reason to have those be three separate instances.
Yeah, and okay, something else that really bothered me in this it was just something that I had trouble with buying the believability of it based on what I know about how things work in real life. So you see this character, Jo, she's the one who actually goes and does this assassination attempt on the senator. And apparently, She just missed and hits him in like the shoulder area instead of shooting him in the head. Like she wanted to kill him but missed. That's what we're going with.
Yeah.
The thing that really bothered me about that is, as somebody who has paid attention throughout the years of certain firearms that, and I'm not an expert by any means, but the gun that she used is a Barrett 50 caliber rifle. That just blew his shoulder off. Like it's going to put such a big hole in that part of his body from it didn't even seem like that far away, but whatever, there's a hole in you, not a flesh wound. She blew a hole in that senator. He's not running around doing shit.
I didn't even think about that. He got shot with a sniper rifle, and he's like, leave me to bleed in peace, and he just like runs off on his own.
It's not a 9mm sniper rifle. That is a 50 caliber bullet meant to. I don't care if I hit you in the hand, you're going down. Like it's utterly ridiculous. That bothered me. I'm sorry. Like
a lot of movies do stuff relying on the idea that you don't know what would really happen. Right? That's one of those, which I hadn't thought about. But you're right. I've heard that too, because we had people come into some of my classes, I think in either high school or college, and they're talking about like the different kinds of things you can do. And one of them, I don't know, somehow the subject of this type of weapon came up, and they're like, yeah, it can be used for people, but it can also be used like you can hit a person behind something with that.
Yes.
Like they were basically saying like you would not really want to shoot somebody with that if there's any way to help it. Like,
oh my God,
they're like, you can shoot an engine block with that and disable a car or something.
It's such a high caliber gun. And I know some things about it. I used to watch the show Top Shot on History Channel, which was one of my favorites. One of my very favorite shows that channel has ever put out. It was great. They could still put it on. I would still watch it.
And I watched it too.
Oh man, you watch these guys use some of these firearms, and the things they can do are insane. But that gun and the senator walking away after getting shot with that is not how that would work. It's just not. It was laughable. It was actually laughable. After I'm like, he run, because you didn't see that happened. That's what happened until after he's already run into the meeting and a whole bunch of stuff with him has happened, and then they show that scene with her and trying to take him out, and I guess she missed. Like she hits him in the head with that. He doesn't have a hole in his head. He's missing his head. It's gone. There's no head left. Goodbye. So small gripes, just small gripes. No big deal.
Small gripes, yeah.
Small gripes.
So really, that's all I've got. I mean, it's a really interesting movie in terms of the way it's shot. I don't know, maybe it's the way I listened to it that made the sound just so odd to me.
I assume with your ears.
Well, I used headphones. I don't usually use headphones. So the sound stage might have been a little bit wider, but I like the music. I like the aesthetic of it. I like that like 60s, 70s, like vintage British vibe that it had, especially in that meeting room. I like just the way really all of that looked. But yeah, overall, just a super unsatisfying movie. It has so much wasted potential. If it was I could see that being a really great HBO or Netflix series about like, okay, now we know this. Now, who are these Russian people? What are we going to do? Like, what are the surviving members of Killers Anonymous going to do? Like, that's how you create sort of an antagonist. Well, I guess there's not really an antagonist-protagonist relationship. You create your good guy by having a bad guy that effective. Like, we've infiltrated your thing. You create kind of the hero of the show. That's what I thought that was going to become at the last minute. You know, these killers being like, no, I'm coming here because I need help. I want to not do this. The one you're talking about, Leo, he's like, I hate this. He's like, if you love your job, you never work a day in your life. I work every day. He's like, I hate doing this. So I thought it was going to be something where it's like, okay, now these like random killers that have been brought together are going to take down this Russian/CIA conspiracy. No, it's just over. And they even kill Joe or whatever her name was, whatever you said, the woman who was running the whole thing. Or if they don't kill her, they shoot her in the knees because she's like, you failed or whatever. And she's like, what are you talking about? I did everything I was supposed to. She's like, well, you could have done more or something. I don't know. And then, or you missed or something, like you screwed it up. So it's like, and the people that they're recruiting still want to follow them. It's like, they just came in, everybody revealed like, hey, we're CIA. No, we're actually working for the Russians. And the Russians are like, we don't tolerate anything but absolute perfection. And if you screw up even by a couple inches on a shot, we're just going to kill you for it. Yeah, that's the person you want to follow. I'm 100%
Right,
sure.
like in the beginning of the movie Tenet, he gets tortured, and then the people who tortured him are like, "All right, you passed our test. Now we're gonna hire you."
Yeah.
No.
And he's like, no. Yeah, he even says he like refuses initially, and they're like, meh, but you're gonna do it. And he's like, yeah, I am.
Nah, it'll be fine. Yeah, I was it just me, or did you feel like the whole violence at the end was shoehorned in
Yeah.
because they needed to have some sort of action?
Yeah, I don't know. I would have liked some explanation as to why they killed all them. They're like, stay here for an hour and everything will be fine, but they all leave and everything's not fine. Like, what would have happened if they had stayed? Why was the whole church covered in plastic? Like Dexter was going to kill somebody in there? Is it because they knew
Right?
they were going to come out and they were going to kill them all anyway? Just, yeah, more stuff that doesn't make any sense. So I'm done. Don't watch. Just
Yeah,
don't watch.
This is gonna be a short one, Halligan's. And as I said, maybe I won't do that anymore. I almost picked. There was a Nicolas Cage movie that I saw as I was flipping around in there. I'm like, and maybe I should have picked that instead, because at least Nicolas Cage, you're gonna get some sort of crazy, just weird. I don't even know what, but that kind of looked more intriguing now compared to what we just watched. But Halligan's, this is going to be one of our rare, I'd say, not a watch. This is not a watch.
I was actually excited to have a not watch. Like, around the time of their first, well, no, around the time of the second twist, I was like, oh my God, this is not a watch. This is
What's
awesome.
a twist?
I was so excited. I was like, we get to recommend not to watch something. Like, this is what I want. I want to have ones where we're like, don't watch it. And we can just like, tell you why it's bad and pick it apart.
Yeah. There were just so many things about it that I just didn't like. But but the sad part is it had such potential. I really liked the first half. I liked them sitting in the circle and everybody telling their stories, and it being I didn't equate what I saw in the Hulu, title card thing. I didn't equate that with Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, I just thought, Killers Anonymous, let's see what it's that. Okay, that's an interesting idea. And it just didn't go anywhere. That's really sad. Really sad.
Yep. Wasted concept.
Oh, too
well,
bad.
If anybody wants to reach out and thank us for telling you to avoid this movie, you can do so. We are on Twitter at MovieHowl. I am on Twitter at ManPanda. And we have an email which nobody uses, which is moviehowl@gmail.com. Not salty.
No, not even a little. All right, Halligans, I'm pretty sure we're done. Thanks for listening. We do hope you enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure I've been Joe.
I've been Ryan, unless I've been replaced by a Russian or a CIA guy or a 14-year-old girl.
Okay, well, I mean,
I have a pretty light voice for a man my age.
You got, to be fair, you got an awful pretty mouth.
All right, bye.